Have you ever wondered how advanced technology can sometimes fail? Today, we explore a tragic aviation incident, Qantas Airways Flight 72. This flight's sudden nosedive into the Indian Ocean reveals crucial lessons about aircraft safety. On October 7, 2008, Qantas Flight 72 experienced severe turbulence. The Airbus A330 was on its way from Singapore to Perth. Suddenly, the aircraft pitched down unexpectedly. Passengers and crew were thrown against their seats. What led to this terrifying scenario? The answer lies in the aircraft's flight control systems. These systems were designed to prevent accidents. Unfortunately, they also caused one. The A330 had a dual flight control system. This means it had two sensors monitoring altitude. These sensors work together to ensure safety. But during the flight, one sensor malfunctioned. When the faulty sensor sent incorrect data, the aircraft reacted. It assumed it was in a dive and adjusted its controls. However, the plane was not in danger. This automatic response led the plane to pitch down sharply. This situation exposes a flaw in the system. The very protections designed to keep passengers safe sometimes backfired. Engineers had to examine these control systems after the incident. Imagine a car with a false alarm system. You're driving smoothly. Suddenly, the alarm blares, causing you to slam on brakes. This reaction can lead to accidents, even if you were safe. This incident also raises questions about pilot training. Despite the technology, pilots must remain vigilant. They need to trust their instincts and training over automated systems at times. In summary, Flight 72's tragic event highlights critical lessons. Technology cannot be solely relied upon for safety. Human awareness is equally essential in aviation. Learn from this incident to drive future improvements in aircraft safety. Always challenge and question your safety systems. Together, we can strive for a safer flying experience. If you found this topic engaging, hit the like button. Subscribe for more aviation insights. Let's ensure we understand the technology that flies us safely in the skies. As Flight 72 descended, chaos unraveled within the cabin. Passengers screamed, gripping the armrests, while flight attendants rushed to secure loose items. Overhead compartments burst open, luggage cascading down like shrapnel, intensifying the panic in those fleeting moments. Behind the cockpit door, the pilots battled a mixture of confusion and urgency. Captain Johnson and First Officer Lee exchanged frantic glances, their training kicking in as they attempted to regain control of the aircraft. They quickly assessed the alarming situation, deciphering instrument readings flashing erratically and confirming their altitude, still safe, yet paradoxically, the aircraft continued its descent. The cabin atmosphere thickened with tension as Captain Johnson steadied his voice on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're experiencing some turbulence, but I assure you that we're trained to handle this situation." His words offered little comfort against the backdrop of fear, but he hoped to quell the growing anxiety among the passengers. Meanwhile, First Officer Lee adjusted the control surfaces, desperately attempting to override the erroneous commands triggered by the malfunctioning sensor, knowing their objective was to stabilize the Airbus A330 against the relentless dive it had involuntarily taken. The scenario intensified as alarms blared in the cockpit, alerts signaling potential danger that only compounded their difficulties. "We need to recalibrate the system now," Captain Johnson shouted, his voice strained but resolute, while flipping switches in a frantic attempt to regain manual control from the malfunctioning sensors. First Officer Lee nodded, focusing intently on the instruments, praying that they could halt the aircraft's unwarranted descent. Seconds felt like hours as they worked together, synthesizing their training and instincts, hoping to restore normalcy under the mounting pressure of impending disaster. Just then, a message crackled through from the flight attendants, revealing the emotional turmoil in the cabin. "Captain, we have multiple passenger concerns, they're panicking." The urgency in her voice reminded them that their decisions impacted not just themselves but everyone aboard, pushing the pilots to act swiftly and effectively. Each second counted, and every ounce of their training was essential to navigating this perilous moment in history. As the cockpit filled with a cacophony of alarms, Captain Johnson locked eyes with First Officer Lee, their silent agreement forged under pressure. "We need to pull back on the yoke together," he instructed firmly, their hands ready at the controls. With a deep breath, they synchronized their movements, instinct blending with protocol as they attempted to counteract the aircraft's alarming dive. The A330 responded sluggishly, the strain of the situation echoing through the aircraft, and the pilots steeled themselves for the fight ahead. Their resolve was unyielding, they couldn't afford to fail now. In the aftermath of Flight 72's harrowing experience, both the aviation community and passengers learned vital lessons about the intricate relationship between technology and human oversight. Addressing the failure of the flight control systems became paramount, ensuring future generations of pilots could navigate effectively amidst evolving complexities. Safety advancements will continually shape our skies, pushing for resilience against both mechanical and human errors. As the A330 lurched violently, the atmosphere was charged with fear and uncertainty. Captain Johnson, feeling the gravitational pull of a crisis that felt both surreal and horrifying, pushed all doubts aside, focusing solely on his training. "Let's stabilize this aircraft," he commanded, his voice a mixture of authority and calm that resonated through the cockpit. First Officer Lee was quick to respond, rapidly analyzing the fluctuating data as they fought against the overpowering forces seeking to send them plummeting. Lee activated emergency protocols, alerting ground control while scrolling through the checklist in search of manual overrides, desperately wishing for clarity amid the chaos. As they navigated through the turmoil, turbulence raged outside, a fierce reminder of the precarious situation. Both pilots locked in their focus, breathing synchronized with heightened determination. "We've trained for this," First Officer Lee reminded Captain Johnson, steeling himself against the alarms blaring around them. "We just need to trust our instincts." The captain nodded, the urgency of their task merging with an entrenched confidence. They knew the stakes were high, but experience guided their actions as they synchronized their movements, preparing for a collective counteraction to the aircraft's undesired trajectory. As they continued their tumultuous struggle, a sudden jolt interrupted their synergy, sending vibrations throughout the fuselage. Captain Johnson felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him, but he quickly shook it off, focusing on the critical moments ahead. "We must regain control before it's too late," he urged, his gaze fixed on the recalcitrant instruments that offered little in terms of reassurance. First Officer Lee, too, sensed the urgency, and their adrenaline-fueled collaboration intensified. "Adjusting flaps now," Lee responded, his fingers deftly maneuvering the controls as they both braced for the plane's potential response. The cabin remained a storm of fear, but the pilots descended deeper into their shared resolve, knowing the lives of all aboard depended on their unwavering commitment. Each passing second felt monumental, reminding them that every action they took held grave significance amidst the relentless descent. "We've got to stabilize this, let's work as a team," Captain Johnson barked over the noise, determination shaping his tone. Together, they began a synchronized assessment of each control surface, guided by a mutual understanding of their roles in reconciling the aircraft's precarious position. As they worked tirelessly, tension escalated inside the cockpit, emotions running high with the constant reminder of their grave situation. The roar of alarms and flashing lights created a chaotic symphony, each sound a sharp reminder of the lives at stake. Captain Johnson, feeling the weight of responsibility heavily on his shoulders, rebounded with forceful resolve. "We can't let fear dictate our actions," he asserted, knowing full well the importance of composure under pressure. First Officer Lee, still methodically poring over the control options, grasped the significance of their communication, realizing that clarity might be the beacon of hope they needed at this critical juncture. "If we just keep our heads clear and work the numbers, we might make it through this," he encouraged, their partnership crucial against the impending disaster looming outside. The stress was tangible as they punched in commands, their fingers dancing over switches and levers, while every muscle in their bodies tensed in anticipation. Each decision, meticulously evaluated amid impending failure, echoed the remarkable essence of aviation professionalism. As they pushed and pulled with synchronized urgency, the Hughes Flight 72 incident grew in the vast archives of aviation history, marking a turning point that would inspire investigators for years to come. The cabin continued to echo with shouts and anxiety as the flight attendants fought to maintain order amidst the rising panic. One attendant, Sarah, moved swiftly through the aisles, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Please remain seated and buckle your seatbelts, we are trained to handle this," she urged, projecting a calmness she didn't fully feel. With each step, she secured her own nerves, reflecting the resilience needed to navigate crises. Meanwhile, behind her, passengers exchanged fearful glances, some clutching hands, seeking solace in one another amid the uncertainty. The atmosphere shifted as Captain Johnson's voice came through the intercom again, steady and reassuring. "We are making adjustments to stabilize, please follow the instructions of our crew." His authoritative tone resonated with the passengers, grounding them in the unfolding situation, even if just slightly. As the pilots continued their desperate efforts to regain control, the cabin remained an orchestra of fear. Sarah, the flight attendant, made her way to a family with 2 young children, her brows furrowing at their frightened faces. "Everything will be okay," she assured them, kneeling down to their level, aiming to dispel their growing anxiety. "We are here to keep you safe, and we're trained for this kind of situation." The children nodded, catching the slight tremor in her voice but comforted by her presence. Meanwhile, the plane's descent persisted, the deafening roar of alarms flooding the atmosphere, leaving a palpable tension among passengers who remained anxiously gripped by safety concerns. In the cockpit, Captain Johnson and First Officer Lee shared a moment of silent understanding, their commitment to their roles solidifying their focus in the face of calamity. Each pilot made adjustments, desperately seeking a glimmer of hope against the rising chaos, aware that they were not only fighting for their own lives but for everyone on board. Every second became increasingly precious, and their silent resolve guided them as they pushed further into the crisis with unwavering determination. The stakes had never been higher, and each action counted toward survival. The cabin trembled as turbulence shook the Airbus A330, while Captain Johnson and First Officer Lee battled to stabilize their aircraft. With the alarms piercing their concentration, the captain's voice remained resolute, "We're going to regain control." The cockpit filled with an electric tension as both pilots focused inward, constantly recalibrating their and the plane's responses to every minor adjustment. First Officer Lee, aware of the weight of responsibility on their shoulders, urged, "Let's not just react, we have to work the systems to our advantage." Captain Johnson nodded, reorienting their strategy, meticulously tracking instrument readings as they crafted a plan. "We're getting through this together," he affirmed, staring intently at the control panel, knowing that every decision could turn the tide. Meanwhile, The crew continued to manage passenger fears, their careful professionalism under pressure revealing the true strength of trained individuals when chaos ensues. The fight for control over Flight 72 continued amidst this whirlwind of emotions and mechanical failures, with hope flickering like a distant beacon guiding them through the storm. The sounds of the cabin faded as focus tightened in the cockpit. "Reducing thrust now," First Officer Lee announced, fingers deftly manipulating throttles. Captain Johnson adjusted his grip on the yoke, their coordinated efforts pivotal in combating the aircraft's erratic trajectory. With immense concentration, they felt the airplane respond slightly, a flicker of hope igniting amid the chaos. "It's working?" Captain Johnson exclaimed, their hearts racing as they sensed the A330 stabilizing. For a fleeting moment, relief washed over them, reminding them that perseverance could reshape dire circumstances. In the wake of Flight 72's crisis, the aviation community heeded the call for improved safety measures and pilot training. This incident solidified the understanding that technology must complement human instincts, fostering a pathway towards safer skies. By embracing the lessons learned, the industry could strengthen resilience against future challenges, ensuring